to take a stand, not believing that I lose my best friend. See, I'd rather live right than in hell. I lift up mine eyes. All of God's children just stand. Everybody say, you stand. Oh, stand for holiness.
Stand for holiness. Stand for righteousness. And be counted among them that shall reign with him.
That shall reign with him. You stand.
When friends are gone. Stand when you're all alone. And believe he shall receive his own.
See, I've decided to take a stand, not believing that I lose some of my friends. See, I'd rather live right than to burn in hell, and I lift up my knives. All of God's children that stand. Everybody say, you stand. Oh, stand for holiness.
Stand for holiness.
Oh,
stand for righteousness.
and be counted
among them that shall reign
with them. You stand.
when friends are gone.
Oh, and believe he shall receive his own. Oh, stand for holiness. And be counted among them that shall reign with him. You stand.
When friends are gone, when you're all alone,
and believe he shall receive his own. Oh, stand for holiness.
for holiness, for righteousness, and be counted among
Be counted among the few that reign with him. Stand. Oh, yeah.
all alone.
And believe he shall receive his own. Stand for holiness.
For holiness,
Oh,
for righteousness, and be counted among them that shall reign with
that
him.
shall reign with him. You stand.
When friends are gone, when you're all alone,
And believe he shall receive his own. Stand for holiness.
for holiness,
Oh,
for righteousness,
and be counted among them
that shall reign
that
with
shall reign with him. You stand.
friends are gone.
Oh,
When you're all alone,
and believe he shall receive. And believe.
and believe he shall
And
receive, and believe he
believe
shall receive.
his own. Help me say, believe God will do it, yes he will. Believe God will do it, yes he will. Believe God will do it, yes he will. Everybody say, you stand.
Amen.
It's a great day in DeKalb. Good morning. Welcome to DeKalb's 34th annual Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. celebration. And please give the DeKalb Employee Choir another round of applause. Wasn't that a great way to get started this morning? I'm going to formally introduce myself in just a little bit, but first, please stand for the presentation of colors and the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and for republic for which it stands, one nation, undivided, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. We'd like to thank the DeKalb Combined Honor Guard for the presentation of colors today. Today, we celebrate the life and the achievements of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., as well as the cultural diversity here in DeKalb County. My name is Sophia Choi. I'm a reporter and an anchor at WSB-TV, Channel 2 Action News. And I live here in DeKalb County, so I know firsthand about the great diversity of our beloved community. And I am so honored to serve as your MC today. Now, to kick things off, I'd like to invite our presiding officer of the DeKalb County Board of Commissioners, Commissioner Jeff Rader, to come forward for a formal welcome.
Thank you very much, Sophia, and thanks everyone for coming today. Thank you for joining us at this 34th annual celebration of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birth. On behalf of the Board of Commissioners, I would like to recognize DeKalb County employees and the DeKalb County Employee Choir for their excellence and continued participation for nearly 40 years of a dedication and organization to this exceptional program. I want to briefly thank my Board of Commissioners for recently electing me as the presiding officer of this important position of service to the board and to the county, and to recognize them here today. Commissioner Larry Johnson from District 3, I'm from District 2. Commissioner Steve Bradshaw from District 4, Commissioner Marita Davis Johnson from District 5, Commissioner Kathy Gannon from Super District 6, and Commissioner Gregory Adams from Super District 7. Thank you, my colleagues, not only for your support in electing me, but also for being here and in recognition of this event. And I also, later on, the CEO will recognize other elected officials in the room. I want to thank you for your attendance here, to the employees of DeKalb County, and to the private citizens who have made time to be here today. I also want to recognize our special guests, Judge Penny Brown Reynolds, our honorees, the family of Nathaniel Mosby and Robert and Barbara Blazer, our esteemed panelist and moderator, Ms. Sophia Choi. Thank you for your collective contributions towards creating a more tolerant and open-minded society. Today's tribute promotes diversity in Dr. King's revolutionary message of creating a beloved community. To Dr. King, the beloved community was a global vision in which all people can share in the wealth of the earth. Today's program, Together We Win, a conversation on cultural diversity in DeKalb, aims to spark an important conversation about creating an all-inclusive and interrelated DeKalb County. It's our hope that the conversation and the information that you hear today opens your heart and provides a deeper understanding. Again, thanks to all of you for joining us today in celebrating the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
And now let's continue that applause as we welcome back the DeKalb County Employees Choir for another selection.
Real simple song. Goes like this. My hallelujah belongs to you, oh Lord. My hallelujah belongs to you. My hallelujah belongs to you. Oh Lord, say, my hallelujah belongs to you. You deserve it. You deserve it. You deserve it.
Yes! Yes!
You deserve that.
Aren't they great? Yes, give them another round. So good. All right, it is now my pleasure to introduce and welcome our county CEO, Michael L. Thurmond. Hold on. Let me give you a proper introduction. All right, in his first year in office, CEO Thurmond's primary mission was actually restoring trust in county government and ushering in a new day in DeKalb. His other priorities included adopting a balanced budget, ensuring accurate water bills. We all know we've had problems with that. Removing blight, offering summer youth employment, improving employee compensation, and fulfilling the federal state consent decree for the sewage system. So let's welcome our CEO, Michael Thurmond.
Good morning. Mrs. Bottoms shared something with me that this is truly a day that the Lord has made. We've been through a lot, DeKalb. We've been through a lot, but don't you ever doubt that you deserve God's grace and his blessings. You deserve it. And let us celebrate in it. I am so honored and pleased, and thank you so much, Sophia. You know, I don't care how bad the news is in DeKalb. When Sophia tells it, I just feel better. I just feel better. I don't know why, but let's give her a round of applause. Let's give her a round of applause. And I'll introduce other elected officials, but we have a special, special guest. The lady who has returned the magic to the ATL. The 60th mayor. The 60th mayor. Now, I was waiting for y'all to say it. I was waiting for the sisters to bring it out. Of our capital city, the capital of the New South, Atlanta, Georgia. My friend, a young lady that I admire. Let's bring forward the mayor who will help me make a very special presentation to the Mosby family and to Mr. Blazer today and Your DeKalb Food Market. So let's stand up for Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms. That black girl magic is here.
Good afternoon, everyone. You know, this black girl magic thing is so interesting because all the black women know the toughest part of keeping the magic is keeping the hair together. And these cameras are on me every day. I'm like, the pressure is so real. CEO Thurmond, I thought I could come to DeKalb and escape this conversation about water bills, and then you have it in your introduction, but there we have it. But I'm so honored to be here, and I won't speak very long. I have to recognize my mother-in-law, who is joining me today. Thank you so much for being here. And so nice to see Congressman Johnson and Commissioner Johnson and so many of our other elected officials. And I wish that I could say that I came here this morning because my former colleague and member of City Council, Natalie, invited me. But the truth is I came because Miriam invited me. And I just wanted to stop by on my 10th day in office because I have such a fondness and affinity for this family. And it's interesting how these seeds are planted long before we even know that they are being planted, and we reap the benefit of watching them grow. My husband's grandfather, Lawrence Bottoms, was a moderator of the Presbyterian Church. And there's a long-standing history with the Mosby family and the work that was done to unify the Presbyterian Church. And that unification still stands today. And these African-American men who had a heart and love for community and for God first brought so many people together across the country in a way that had not been able to be done in many, 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 many years. And I was thinking this morning, Natalie, on my introduction to Miriam, and again, how these seeds are planted in our families and what we are doing for the generations. I don't know if you remember this, but one of the first speaking engagements I had on City Council, I received a very nice stipend. And because I reading is fundamental, I realized that I could not keep it. And there was an opportunity to either return the honorarium, or to make a donation. And Miriam was teaching at Frederick Douglass High School at the time, and she was working to get some students on a college tour. And I asked that they issue the honorarium in the name that Miriam, the organization that she was leading to get these students from Frederick Douglass High School on a college tour. And at that time, I didn't know our longstanding family connection, but it all makes sense to me because this is a family with a heart and a love for community, and it's certainly passed down through the generations. So I just thank you all for having me this afternoon. Thank you for allowing me to join you in DeKalb County. I know it will not be the last time that I'm here to visit you, and I am just honored to celebrate with you, and congratulations to you. Thank you.
Well, you know, some DeKalb County voters voted for the mayor too, right? Just give us, all right, come on, we cast a few votes. Give us a hand for that. We're part of it. We cast a vote.
Well, let me just add, the DeKalb County voters made the difference in the election. Let me add that. So, thank you.
You know, being the CEO is a tough job, just like being mayor of Atlanta. And mostly it's just not good things in your life. But every now and then, between the water bills and the SSOs and the garbage not being picked up and the potholes, you get a chance to do something really, really cool. And as we were planning this particular program, and we were thinking about how do we recognize a much broader cross-section of DeKalb County residents. And at first, I had met a man, Mr. Blazer. Matter of fact, I went to a book discussion he had at the farmers market. I was not the CEO. I don't think I had on my baseball cap. He didn't know who I was. But I have come to understand that the heart of DeKalb is your farmers market. No matter what race, color, creed, nationality, Muslim, Jew, Gentile, agnostic, true believer, all of DeKalb, all of Metro Atlanta, literally all of Georgia, show up at some point in some time where? At your farmers market. Because food is what? Universal. So to me, that's the heart of DeKalb. So we decided we were going to honor Mr. and Miss Blazer, but we said, okay, we need a humanitarian award. But then I said, we need to name it after somebody who's very, very special, who had a life of public service, who was a public servant, who made a difference. And I began to think about it, Commissioner Johnson, and I thought about a man who back in the late 80s and the early 90s when I was beginning a political career, a young man who reached out to me, who encouraged me, who supported me. And that was Commissioner Nathaniel Mosby. Howard and the other kids were still in middle school. And I was with their father and he was a mentor, and he was a friend. So first, I would like the Mosby family, Mrs. Mosby, to come forward, if you would. Everybody. I want all y'all to come up. I said everybody, but I mean, you know, come on up. Give them a hand, please. This is a trailblazer. And in recognition of the first, Nathaniel Mosby Humanitarian Award presented by the DeKalb County government, we would like to present this award to this lovely matriarch of this powerful, unique, and God-fearing family on behalf of your late husband. That's for you.
These lovely flowers are from CEO Thurmond and the whole DeKalb County family. I'd like to present these to you. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks everybody. I'm Nathaniel Mosby Archibong, a member of the Atlanta City Council, and when the CEO said the matriarch of the family, my mom said, "It's not you, Nathaniel." Okay, I got it. Thank you. You know, I am the oldest, although also the youngest. You figure out how that works genetically speaking. But it is such an honor, and I want you to see how profound it is to have the CEO of DeKalb County and the mayor of Atlanta standing together to honor an Atlanta DeKalb, I guess, man of legacy, man of vision. The story that Mayor Bottoms told about my dad. When he joined Oakhurst Presbyterian Church in Celeste Bottoms, you may remember this. I think there were maybe 200 members there, and after my dad wouldn't go away and kept going, I think the membership dwindled down to maybe our family, right? But he stayed the course. And Oakhurst now, because of Dr. Bottoms, Mayor Bottoms' husband's grandfather, there's a legacy now that Oakhurst Presbyterian Church is the gold standard for the beloved community. And I think that speaks a volume. That's on the spiritual level. Now on the community level, look around this room. He has left such a big footprint. I'm gonna tell you something about our family. I'm an elected official city council. Howard is a member of the Georgia House of Representatives. He's chair of the DeKalb delegations. He's also a comedian, as we all are. If you knew Nate Mosby, that's an important family legacy as well. My brother David, who came down here from Oak Ridge, Tennessee for many years, was a city council person in Oak Ridge, and they got paid, Mayor, $25 a meeting. And he did that for years because we were raised to be public servants. My brother there with the bow tie, Philip, is a pastor, Solomon's Porch. Wasn't DeKalb, I'm sorry, now he's in Atlanta, hey. And my brother Warren, who's a business and political consultant. We all live our lives around serving. And for those of you who knew him and those of you who see now his big footprint, it just really means a lot to our family. My daughter, Miriam Archibong, who is now our next generation, has just been admitted to the Georgia Bar, will be continuing her service to the community. I'm so proud of her. And the wind beneath our wings is our mom, so quiet, so stable, so loving, she just builds our confidence in what we can do and what we should do for others. And I just want to thank you. I want to thank you, CEO, for allowing us to, as a family, remember that legacy. And we must continue because the work is yet to be done. And in the honor of my dad, Nathaniel Mosby, the second African-American who was to serve on this wonderful DeKalb County Commission, he will never be forgotten. And this reminds us of the important work yet to be done. Thank you so much.
extra special. Now, Mr. Blazer, will you please come forward? I think you had to go that way. It is rare in the business world to find someone dedicated to not just the success of a company's bottom line, but the success of an entire community. Robert and Barbara Blazer are those kind of rare people. For 40 years, people around DeKalb and Metro Atlanta and the world have gotten to know Your DeKalb Farmers Market. What started as a 7,000 square foot greenhouse just north of Decatur has grown into a market that is more than 140,000 square feet. It is fitting to honor the Blazers in the Manuel J. Maloof Auditorium, as Mr. Maloof was one of the market's champions when he was the commissioner. Mr. Blazer, along with his wife Barbara, son Daniel, and hundreds of dedicated employees from all over the world, from every nation on the face of this earth, have built a remarkable place for the community to gather for coffee, for meal, or weekly shopping. The Blazers have created a market that is not just a celebration of food, it is a celebration of humankind. The Blazers have employed people from more than 40 countries speaking 50 languages and dialects, and many of these employees are refugees trying to gain bearing in unfamiliar territory. These employees left careers, friends, homes, everything we take for granted as being familiar. These men and women who I've met and you've met when you shop there left those things behind searching for a better life. At Your DeKalb Farmers Market, the Blazers have cultivated an environment of partnership, team building, and skills development. They've helped thousands of individuals on their way, on the journey towards the American dream. People of all colors, languages, nationalities, working and living together. I am pleased, I'm honored, really thrilled, to present to Mr. Robert Blazer the 2018, the first Nathaniel Mosby Humanitarian Award. So, Mr. Blaze, on behalf of the DeKalb County government, the Board of Commissioners, the men and women, the 6,000 employees, we present you this for you and your lovely wife to remember us by and hopefully use it as a source of inspiration to continue the great work, God's work that you're doing. Thank you.
I say thank you very much. I didn't expect anything like this at all. But, you know, we are part of the county for 41 years, so I feel like, you know, really together with you. You know, we've been able to create an environment there that's really second to none in terms of the way we work together. We have unique ways of working together because we have special knowledge of how to work together that we've developed over the years, that we've developed and used for the last 30 years as far as the way we work together at the market. So we have some interesting information to provide the community with as far as understanding ourselves better so that we can work together better. That information is available, and I'm willing to share it with anybody that is interested in the development of family, development of education, development of better working situations in the county going forward. So I really appreciate this opportunity to say that to you, that this, you know, the market has there's another aspect to the market that you could benefit from besides the food aspect. It's the relationship aspect, how we can get along better with each other by understanding more about ourselves. It's unique knowledge that we came up with, that we've developed out of our stand to have the world work free of scarcity and suffering. And it seems like it matches what we're up to here today. what we're really about at the market. But I have this information to share with you, and it's unique. It's not available anywhere else, and it really needs to be understood so that we can have our dreams come true. Because the market really wouldn't be what it is today without that information being utilized in the way we work together. Just wanted to say that to you. So thank you very much. And my wife wasn't here because she has the flu, and she was afraid she'd be coughing. She's so nervous about having a coughing fit that she said, I can't go, you know. I said, it's okay, Barbara, you know, I'll let you know. But I'll let them know, you know. And anyways, my son is here, Daniel, who's been involved with me. He's 32 years old and been involved with me since he was a young boy in the business, and he's very active in the business in various ways. And of course, Frank Velasquez is here with me, who's been working at the market over 30-something years and is like really the heart and soul of what we do over there. So I just wanted to introduce them to you as well. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
You should pick up his book. I have an autographed copy. The unique information is contained within the pages of an amazing book that he wrote. Now it is my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker this morning, a young lady that I guess we met, I won't say how long ago, because we met at a time under the Gold Dome. And it was so far ago that the Democrats ran everything down there. That's how far it was, wasn't that right? That's how long it was. We ran everything at the Capitol. We were in charge. And this young lady, let me tell you, Judge Reynolds is an award-winning, nationally respected leader, a bold visionary, dedicated public servant, former jurist, attorney, public theologian, and ordained pastor. She and her husband, who's seated here, Rem, stand up, Rem, they are co-pastors. Stand up, give her a man. They are here together. She is a history maker, international public figure whose journey is dedicated to the fundamental principles of justice, equality, civic engagement, and social justice. Judge Brown Reynolds achieved a distinguished position in Georgia's history as the first African-American woman to hold a position of executive counsel to the governor, making her the first black to serve as a lawyer for any governor in the state, in the southeastern United States. That's kind of cool. She is a former prosecutor, state assistant attorney general, and first African-American chief of staff and legal counsel to Georgia's lieutenant governor. And she didn't say this, but she was also the first African-American to ever be the chief of staff and legal counsel for the lieutenant governor of the state of Georgia. So Judge Reynolds has an impressive track record as an entrepreneur, teaching millions of people. She had a syndicated television court show entitled Family Court with Judge Penny, and receiving an Emmy Award nomination for her work on the program. And I'm rushing through because I want to get to you, but I want to talk about the program that you do with young women. And I'm trying to get to my notes. Give her a hand for that. I don't think it's in there. Judge Penny's Sister Talk, a women's empowerment conference, is attended by thousands of young women and women all over America. 3 years ago, when I was school superintendent, I think we sent 6 bus loads of young girls to the conference that was here in Atlanta. And the principals and the teachers told me that attendance at that conference was a transformative moment for those young ladies. It totally refocused, changed their directory, confidence, respect, power, all due to the work of Judge Penny. I'll stop and move aside and allow our keynote speaker, none other than the lady who never stops, who never fails to speak truth to power, a God-anointed woman, Reverend Dr. Judge, Attorney Penny Brown Reynolds.
Thank you so much. I need to carry Mr. CEO with me everywhere I go. An oratory ability like no other. Let's give, genuine, God-fearing leadership, brilliant man, the CEO who's the people's CEO. Let's give him another round of applause. I am on a strict time limit because I'm a Baptist preacher. And so I could stand here and acknowledge so many people because I have so many friends. Congressman is here, my husband is here, my daughter is here, my daughter, attorney Nikki McDonald is here, my mentee Sonia is here, the district attorney, everybody, I know everybody. If anybody knows me, raise your hand. Okay, you see what I mean? Not to remember my church members are here with me too. I travel with my Amen Corner. And so I thank everybody for being here. But we are here, more importantly, because we're here to commemorate the 50th anniversary of the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I ask that you come with me this afternoon on a journey. Let's go back for just a little bit to Memphis, Tennessee. As so many of you know, Dr. King delivered his prolific message the day before his assassination, the mountaintop sermon, April the 3rd, 1968. Where were you in 1968? Some of you may have not been born. Many of you were born, though. Don't try to play this off. You were born. I was 7 years old. But the journey of Dr. King didn't start with that speech. And so we've got to go back a little bit, if you allow me to put it into context. Because when I was growing up, we would learn about Black history. And a lot of that has been taken out of the schools because Black history is America's history. And so just give me a moment. We'll get to the shout on the back end. But I want you to understand just who Dr. King was. We want to be able to reduce him down to just a dreamer. But he was bigger than that. He was a strategic man. We understand that in March 28th of that same year, Dr. King, who was head of SCLC, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, he and Ralph Abernathy, Reverend Ralph Abernathy, and now Ambassador Andrew Young, had made a decision that they were going to go and fight for the rights of some 1,300 sanitation workers. He was going up a municipality, coming up against like a DeKalb County. And so what is he doing? This man from Atlanta, this preacher from Atlanta. Things were tough for him. He had just begun to speak against the Vietnam War. And then his own began to turn on him. But there was something about sanitation workers that made him know that the inequality of hard-working people, he had to do something about it. It just wasn't resting in his spirit. So you're saying, oh, okay, that's all the past. But what was going on for them? Their white counterparts, who were all supervisors, got more than one uniform where they only got one uniform. And they didn't even have a place to change. And if it was raining like it is today, they were sent home without pay while the white workers got to be paid. The inequality was unbelievable for those that if they stopped picking up our garbage today, Mr. CEO, you want to mess up? Let something happen with the garbage pickup and you'll see what happens. An integral part. That's why don't tell me, as a sister, the Black Girl Magic Sisterhood, I was one of those sisters that had to clean my way to where I am now. And I did it with honor and with dignity because I understand that you don't discount what anybody does. The only reason he's able to be the CEO is because somebody in DeKalb County is either typing, answering the phone, pressing a button, filing, picking up garbage, cleaning the floors. They're doing it all in order to lift everybody up. So we find ourselves on April the 3rd. It's 10:30 a.m. and the plane has landed in the Memphis airport. Takes an hour to get off the plane, Mr. CEO, because he had a bomb threat and they had to search the plane. The chief of police had assigned 2 African-American plainclothesmen to be there for him because he was constantly getting death threats. It was always on him. Now, the march that took place on the 28th didn't turn out the way it should have. They marched, and at the very end, there were a group of thugs that started to loot. And all hell broke loose, and they had to get him out of there. And so nobody wanted him to come back. And they were getting injunctions to make sure that he couldn't be there. But something in his spirit, he was walking toward his destiny, no matter what was going on. So by 11:05 or so, he makes it to the Lorraine Motel. If there's ever a pilgrimage that you ought to make, black and white, go to the Lorraine Motel. I've been there, and it's life-changing. So he gets there, he arrives there, and about 12:05, he leaves the hotel, and he goes to another church. There again, the church, a Methodist church. And he announces that the march is going to be on April the 8th. He gets back to the hotel, and then there's a Black Power group, maybe some of the members that were there to disrupt from the last one, and he sends Andy Young there to go and meet with them because they're trying to get funding for a liberation college. And so what takes place? The weather's bad. And when I say bad, I mean the weather's really bad. And then he has to go to Allen Temple, Church of God in Christ, to be able to speak. He had already spoken there in March, but he's coming back again. He returns back and he gets the word that he's served once he gets back with an injunction. The judge's name was U.S. District Court Judge Bailey Brown. He issues a temporary restraining order telling him, you can't have this march. But Dr. King says no mace, no dogs, no anything is going to stop me from doing what God has put in my spirit to do. And so by now, it's 5 o'clock. And the security detail was let go because he didn't want security. Do you know that he wouldn't allow Andy and Jesse and any of them to even carry weapons? He wouldn't even let his children play with toy guns because he believed in the philosophy of nonviolence. So there he is. Tornado warnings are going on about 5:30. Tornado warnings, and they're warning people not to come. Well, you all made it here today, but on Sunday mornings, us preachers, we pray that there's no bad weather, because if you Baptists, you only want to get wet one time, and that's when you baptize. And so as a good preacher, he was wondering, are the people going to come? Yeah. Everything mattered. And so James Lawson, at about 8 o'clock, tells him that he was the leader over there with SCLC, calls King on the phone, and he tells him that the crowd is a little thin from what it was before. And so Dr. King says, well, the media will be there. We want to make sure that they don't think that the movement is slowing down. So, Ralph, you go on and you make the speech. Ralph said, no, let's let Jesse do it. He said, no, you're my best friend. And if you know anything about Ralph David Abernathy, nobody could preach like Ralph David Abernathy, not even Dr. King. Dr. King was an orator, but there's something about, there's something about a good Baptist preaching. And Ralph David Abernathy could do that thing. And so at 8:15, it's time for Pastor Abernathy to get up. At 8:30, you he says, wait, man, something's going on. And tornado warnings like never before, soon to know that people were killed. Over 100 people were displaced. About 15 to 17 people were killed. That's how bad the weather was. He gets on the phone. He said, Dr. King, you got to come down here. It's 3,000 people have shown up, and they need a word that only you can give. So that at 9:30 p.m., he heads to 938 Mason Street. He's tired. And did I tell you he wasn't feeling all that good? And did I tell you that he was beginning to feel a little depressed? Because he would go into cities and he would campaign for mayors. And they would win, and then they would send him an invitation that he didn't need to come. I don't know about you, but I've been in a situation where people, you're only as good as what you can do for the people. And then when they get where they are, they don't want to have anything to do with you anymore. Can I get a witness about that? He was feeling weary, and he was feeling down. But he had a call on his life, and he knew what he had to do. So he pressed his way to that church. And there were the people, and he was sweating profusely. And he began with his speech, and he says, I'm delighted to see each of you here tonight, in spite of a storm warning. You reveal that you are determined to go on anyhow. Something is happening in Memphis. Something is happening in our world. How prophetic was Dr. King to know that something indeed was happening in our world. I came here today, and if I was preaching, I'd say, I stopped by here, DeKalb County, on my way to heaven to let you know that something is happening in this world today. In his book, Hellbound on His Trail, Hampton Sykes says, now, you have to understand that when he says there were difficult days, we'll get to that. The difficult days of 50 years later, as my granddaughter of 12 years old, who doesn't see color because she, Pelly Marie, loves Katie and Selena Gomez, and she doesn't know the difference. She listens to more white music than she would ever listen to R&B. So you have a world where young people don't know the difference, and then you have a world where they traded in white sheets to hide behind keyboards and Twitter to be able to bully and talk about people and say that Haitians and Africans and people from El Salvador do not belong in the highest land. I would be disingenuous. I'm not here to make a political statement. I've never actually been too political. I've worked around the periphery of it. But there comes a time when 50 years later, can we ask? And did I tell you the title of my message? The title of my speech today is A View from the Mountaintop. And what do I see? I stand here nearly 50 years from the anniversary of a man who not only dared to dream, but for someone who gave his life so that there could be a Michael Thurmond, so there could be a Sherry Boston, so there could be an Oprah Winfrey, so there could be a Penny Brown Reynolds. Many would love to keep Dr. King reduced to a state of dreaming. But we must note that he spent the last 3 years of his life focusing on the issue of poverty. He was on the cusp of leading a nonviolent interracial army of poor people to the nation's capital. That's why he was so weary, because of the chasms between the haves and the have-nots. 50 years later, the biggest challenge of America, the biggest challenge of DeKalb County, is that chasm between the haves and the have-nots. What is your view from the mountaintop? Is your view from the mountaintop that it should matter whether or not 10 years ago you were born in Dunwoody, as opposed to being born in the condos of Brandon Hills near Clarkston in unincorporated DeKalb County? Does your view from the mountaintop make you understand that our call upon our life is not to allow the darkest nature of this country, that's mere 33% of people who want to keep us divided? You see, they understand they're the last holdouts, because when God comes and corrects this thing, it's going to be corrected. There is a browning of America, and you better get ready for it. That's a good thing. The great experiment of America. Everybody was brought here, unless you Native American. Some folk came out of jails and were thrown here. Some people came on slave ships. But we all were brought here. This country belongs to all of us. And the greatness is that we all know that. The greatest challenge that we face is unequal opportunity. We can't tell you where you've been born, but I can tell you when Dr. King was fighting so that you can get into the room, we got to get past just trying to get into the room. We got to want to sit at the table. And not only sit at the table, because I done been at the table. I want you to hear me when I'm talking at the table. And I may not talk like you. I might be sister girl, and I might roll my eyes and put my hands on my hip, but that's what diversity is all about. That means you embrace everything that's about me. That means I don't have to be like you. I don't have to talk like you. I don't have to sound like you. Diversity. And its best is being yourself. If you don't leave with anything else today, is the dream relevant? The dream is relevant because you have a God-given right to be who you are with all that you bring to the table. My view of being from the mountaintop is a view of a little girl whose mother was single, whose mother was violated, yet I am the product of that. And yet if the world had given up on me, I fought my way every step of the way. My mother had to have food stamps in order to feed us, but she walked in with pride and with adoration. She was there in the Capitol. When I walked the halls of the Capitol, you don't know what it meant being the first African American in Georgia's history and in the Southeast to be a lawyer for a governor when I didn't have anything to prove but to say, here I am. Dr. King says that justice will not flow into society merely from court decisions, nor from foundations of political oratory, nor from a few token changes. I'm tired of people making feel-good speeches. I'm tired of this. Until we stand up as good people and understand the power of the ballot, you might think you don't have. You want diversity, go out and vote. That's what you want. You want diversity, go out and vote. And so, as I close, I say to you that when America is divided, we fall. Diversity and inclusion of people sitting around that table are immigrants who came here because they just wanted a chance. They're LGBTQ community members who believe that they were born the way that they are, and if God says that's who they are, that's who they are. It means that a little black boy and little black girls can grow up, and Hispanics and Asians and all of us can sit at the table of opportunity, not get the promotion because of who we know, but what we know. And so, we move now to that fatal day. You think he did the speech, and boy, a speech it was. I'll conclude with the speech because my words could not match Dr. King's. But I want you to understand that he came out of it And he was there, and it was about 55 degrees. The weather had cleared, and you know how it feels after the storm has passed. And they were about to go out to dinner. And there they were, all with his lieutenants around him. They got the news that 6 people, in fact, had died. And he walked out on the balcony. And something called the attention, but he was laughing and he was smiling. And you believe for 1 minute that when he gave that speech that he saw, that maybe he might not be here. At 39 years old, how many of us, for the issue of diversity and inclusion, would give of their life? But now he departs from his text. He closes the book and he says, well, I don't know what will happen now. We've got some difficult days ahead. But it doesn't matter with me now, because I've been to the mountaintop. And I don't mind, like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place. But I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And he's allowed me to go up to the mountaintop, and I've looked over and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. And I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. DeKalb County, you win when we all win. Michael Thurmond, CEO, you are here for all of us. When I was in the Capitol and it was a weary night, a cleaning woman came to me. And I'm a 30-something-year-old young girl saying, why all these open records requests? What in the world? This was... Oh, y'all, that's right. This the county. Y'all know, y'all know. And she came up to me and she said the words, "You tired?" I said, "Yes, ma'am, I am." She said, "I want you to always remember, you here," and this is just how she said it, "for all of us." DeKalb County, do your job with honor. Walk with honor and integrity. Diversity will lift us up. We win because everybody will have a seat at the table. That's my view from the mountaintop. God bless you and thank you.
How about that for a keynote speaker? Yeah. All right, and now we'd like to get our panelists to join us up on our stage and our guests to have a seat in the front row. We'll take a few minutes as they make their way up here.
May I make a special announcement?
Yes.
I know we ran through lunch, and somebody may be getting a little hangry. But we have Chick-fil-A sandwiches outside as soon as the panel ends for the first 150 people. So don't y'all.
Let me count. We are going to hear from a distinguished list of panelists who will speak about cultural diversity in our beloved community. You've heard that term tossed around today. First introduced by the early 20th century philosopher theologian Josiah Rice. The beloved community is a term Dr. King actually used to describe his dream of a society where love for all persons is the basis of justice, equal opportunity, and the elimination of societal ills such as racism, discrimination, poverty, hunger, homelessness, violence, and the like. King's beloved community is a society which appreciates, cherishes, and benefits from the diversity, perspectives, and cultural differentiation of its population. Its characteristics embrace inclusion, peaceful conflict resolution, as Dr. King always taught, reconciliation, and the integration of all peoples and cultures. Our panelists are Samia Abdul, if you could give a little wave as we introduce you, a community organizer and dialogue facilitator. Her work has focused on building and strengthening relationships with diverse communities throughout DeKalb County, including the city of Clarkston, where more than 100 languages are spoken and 50% of the residents are actually foreign-born. She currently serves as the North American coordinator of Numbi Arts and sits on the DeKalb County School District Advisory Council and the boards of the Children's Interfaith Movement and the Joe Beasley Foundation. Samia Abdul. And next we have Victoria Chacon. She is the publisher of La Vision newspaper, one of the largest print community newspapers owned and managed by a Latino here in Georgia. Published for nearly 20 years, La Vision newspaper is distributed on Fridays at 1,500 distribution points. The print version actually reaches more than 35,000 readers each and every week. We also have with us today Charlene Fang. Ms. Fang is a founding member of the Taiwanese American Women's Club and the Chambly Chamber of Commerce. A native of Taiwan, Fang immigrated to the United States in 1990. She is the vice president of the North Decatur Lions Club and currently serves on the boards of the Interfaith Outreach Home, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, Atlanta Citizens Academy, and the DeKalb Board of Assessors. I'm going to try to get this right. Asgadum, is that correct? Asgadum Tumelso, okay, is an East African entrepreneur. He is also a certified interpreter and serves non-English speakers needing translation in hospitals and within the court system. He is currently a board member and the treasurer of the Eritrean America community. All right, panelists, if you're ready, let's go ahead and start our discussions because, as the CEO says, people are getting hangry. All right, DeKalb County is known as one of the most diverse counties in the Southeast, with residents speaking over 140 different languages and representing over 180 different nations. While seen as an asset, this diversity can also pose some challenges for communication. How can the county better engage your community to relay important messages and receive citizen feedback? Let's start with Ms. Abdul.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I hope you can all hear me. I think I'm going to start with a quote from our beloved CEO, Michael Thurmond. And that quote is, "Listen before you lead." So with that, I think the leadership that he brings to the community, and knowing that the leadership that he brought to DeKalb schools when he was superintendent, is listening to the community. So we are really in his ear. I just want to say that. It takes relationships. It takes intentional relationships building. Bringing the communities to the table so they're not a diversity token, but they are at the table. That is inclusion. Diversity is just counting numbers, right? Okay, so I'm wearing a scarf. You could tell I'm Muslim. He's Eritrean. She's a, Latina. But that is just counting numbers. We need to move beyond counting numbers to really counting, making people count. Making people count is allow me to sit at the table, let you know what my community needs, and really brings an interpreter to the table when a community member needs to speak, right? So I think that is really, we are the United Nations So we need to function like the United Nations, have everybody a seat at the table. We'll bring out folding chairs.
Mr. Tumelso, do you want to add to that? I know language is important to what you do.
Yes, it is. Thank you very much for the chance I have. And earlier when the judge spoke that the county and DeKalb County and all the United States is for all of us. It's not only for white or black, or all immigrants. And when I heard when I was 5 years old about Martin Luther King back thousands of miles away from here when I was in Africa. And my personal dream was fulfilled when I came to the United States. Probably I was here in 20 years ago. So this is what I see. I live in DeKalb County 20 years, and my business is 20 years. I'm the first immigrant HR block owners as a franchisee in that county, and assisting over 50,000 for the last 15 years. And I have 5, 6 different languages in my office, helping all types of people, all types of Asians, Africans, Americans, and all others. So which means there must have been a very firm and very close relationship with the communities, because earlier when you mentioned about the new CEO, it's all about building trust. Trust is not only with the residents only, and trust with the community. And how many communities within the DeKalb County? There are so many communities in DeKalb County than any other communities. But how far the DeKalb government knows this community, how they approach them, how they clothe them, and how they assist them, facilitate all these things. So that's what I'm saying. The community and the county has to work together to empower and develop the betterment for society and the community and the residents as a whole.
A challenge in fostering inclusion and reconciliation can be a lack of knowledge and understanding about various cultures in DeKalb County. How can citizens foster an environment where they can learn about people from other races and cultures? And if we could get Ms. Chacon to weigh in.
Dr. Martin Luther King said that people is afraid of each other because we don't know each other. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what happened with diversity, you know. We immigrants, and I'm gonna speak as a Latino, representing the Latino community, we are facing the same challenges that the African American community faced for many, many years, including today, as Judge Penny said. So with that being said, I'm so grateful also with leaders with the vision like our dear CEO, Michael Thurmond, because while he was as a superintendent in the DeKalb school system, he created the first international welcome center for all the immigrants, not only Latinos, but from different countries, over 120 countries. He also implemented a device named ELSA in Spanish, who is a translator device. That device gives the opportunity to Latinos, Indians, from different countries to communicate with the leaders of the DeKalb school system. So I think that is promote diversity. And we as a community hope that, and I'm sure, we don't have no doubt that as a CEO, Mr. Thurmond is going to implement more ways to reach and engage the Latino community. As a representative of the media, I'm here to say we can do anything in our hands to help him and be and actively participate in the DeKalb community.
Yes, I've been to that Welcome Center, and if you haven't been there, please go check it out. It really is welcoming. You can actually ask them if you could play around with that ELSA machine. I've played around with it. It's really cool. All right, and you mentioned, Ms. Chacon, that we don't know each other, and that's where the conflicts come in. Dr. King once said, I am convinced that men hate each other because they fear each other. They fear each other because they don't know each other, as you said, and they don't know each other because they don't communicate with each other, and they don't communicate with each other because they are separated from each other. So how can we reduce the separation in DeKalb County? Ms. Fang, if you want to start with that.
Well, before I come to here, I was wondering, say, what's the question going to be? And I'm so nervous for the question. And then I didn't know the panels also. So when I write a whole bunch stuff, then I find out the majority I'm trying to talking about is the Clarkston, diversity, the refugee camp, and that is the place. But now I can so happy to focus on my own Chinese community to talk about this. And when I come to United States, DeKalb County is the only county I moved in. 28 years, I'm the one working on the bank. That bank is so good to create the Asian community bank. The first bank, they say, we speak your language. We know your language. We know your culture. So that's the reason we create the community. They know your language. They know your culture. See, a lot of people doesn't know Asian people love to carry cash. We use cash all the time. So we have so many immigration people bring a whole bunch of cash, go to American bank to deposit. They immediately call the police. They carry the money and they cannot bring the money back because they want to find out where the money came from. See, that's a reason right now if you go to the Beautiful Highway, that's all the Asian bank because they know your language. They know your money. And I'm so happy I have so many law enforcement friends and they because on Beautiful Highway, we have a lot of Asian people is being stopped by the police officer. And the Asian people say, you guys have discrimination. You always stop Asian people. But they didn't realize 90% of driving the Beautiful Highway is Asian people. So that's the reason. And I was being invited to the police academy program. I'm the one educate them, say, hey, will you stop the Asian people? If you find out have a cash, that doesn't mean they're a drug dealer. Yeah. You have to remember that. So a lot of people to understand each other. That's why police officers, I feel so happy because they start to open their mind to learn. And that's the reason I want to say Chinese people hardworking. They don't deal with the police department. They don't want to go to the court. They don't want to go to the local government. But that doesn't mean they are the bad people or they're something. So to me, I'm so happy, DeKalb County. I'm sitting here, so many commissioner, CEO, they all come to our Chinese community, Chinese New Festival event. I'm so happy because you guys trying to understand us. That is the most powerful thing is government open the door to allow us to communicate.
She tells it like it is, huh? All right, Dr. King imagined a beloved community founded on a love of love that can transform opponents into friends. How can an increased appreciation of the distinctiveness of the peoples of DeKalb County improve relations between our various cultures? Ms. Abdul?
I think before we start appreciating other cultures, it starts to be aware of your own biases. What baggages are we carrying? Because when you see someone, you judge them only on 10% that you see. The 90% you don't see. That's the 90% that we are, that you don't see, is what you really miss out by judging another person. So I think it's removing our biases. First of all, everybody has a culture. Like the judge said, everybody comes from a different culture. We're all minorities here in America. So you must have an Italian grandmother or a German father. So examine your biases and know your own culture. Only then you can relate to somebody else's culture. But with that, bringing those cultures together, it's really our humanity. Our humanity is basing our judgments. And I think that is the biggest problem in America. When we see media and we talk about people as if they are nothing. And I really don't want to mention what happened last night, But however, I think it's the judgment is when you don't know another person. That's when the pitfall happens. And I wanted to add to the relationship piece. Everything starts with a relationship. And I think the relationship is two ways. As we are diverse, you are diverse. You know, as we live in South DeKalb or maybe in Clarkston or whatever, the North DeKalb people are our friends. So it takes relationship. It's not only the North DeKalb coming south, but it's a South DeKalb going north and seeking those relationships, right? And being intentional and knowing when those festivals are, okay? So when there's the Ethiopian festival and there's 10,000 people attending, or there's a Chinese New Year, right? Knowing where those things and really making an intentional step to build relationship, right? And knowing that in this world we are today, we will be always living in that fear because the enemy, trust and fear don't exist in the same place. You know, you cannot exist in the same place. For us to build a world of trust, we need to move beyond the fear and intentionally build that bridge, right? Okay, allow others to know you and know them. And I want to mention by just using an example. When we talk about DACA and the deportation that happened and is still happening with ICE, we have to look at these families as real people, right? They're real families. So with that said, you know, there was an example of an art. How can art bring people together, right, and examine our biases? So an exhibition happened with origami hummingbirds. So they were all dropping off the ceiling. That was 6,919 people that have been deported from June 2017 to July 2017. When you're walking in that church and you look at those origami hummingbirds, you have to allow your compassion to come in, and for God to come in that sacred space and look at every origami hummingbird as what it represented for that family. So I think that is the relationship, is knowing that the people that we fear, that we see as enemies, that we're stereotyping, are real people.
Does anybody want to add to that?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
I really want to say a few more things on that situation. Because I was in DeKalb County for 20 years, in the business and as a resident. What I see in my community, there are about around 100,000 people from Eritrean and Ethiopians in this community, and many in the businesses, in the restaurants. I'm sure some of them knows Dasta Kitchen, one of the top 50 restaurants in Atlanta area. And many are involved in DeKalb County. DeKalb County as transportation industry, in the trucking industry. And most are getting in the business and bigger. But the point is, how we create that knowledge, that understanding, because don't forget one thing, most of us coming from a country where political participation was so limited or not existed. So that kind of mentality is here when they come to United States. That kind of mentality, not election, no voting, the same thing will continue. How we create trust on our society, our community, so that these people will participate in the political process. Last November election, I leading the board members to go door to door, people to register for voting. A lot of people are U.S. citizens. After 5 years, they qualify to become a U.S. citizen, but they never vote. So we teach them. So in order to teach them, they said, oh, my vote may not make a difference. But they have to understand that their vote, one vote, make a difference. So that kind of mentality, that kind of understanding, we have to work community with the county, with the government. I believe the CEO has put in his strategy how to work with this community. I believe there we'll see some changes in the coming months and years.
Unfortunately, we are running out of time, so I want to thank all of our panelists. Thank you so much, and I hope all of you got something out of this wonderful discussion.
Thank you so much.
And now if I could get our CEO back up on the stage. Our glad fly of a CEO. He's coming. CEO Michael Thurmond again.
Boy, that was an amazing panel. Let's give them a round of applause again. Thank you so much. My sister. And this is it. As mentioned, we have Chick-fil-A specials outside. Don't walk out yet. We got one more rendition from our choir. Let's get a choir round of applause. We're 10 minutes over for what I told Ms. Carlos. Heck, I'm the CEO, right? We can just hang around, you know what I mean? So everybody still get paid. We have elected officials here. I want all elected officials not introduced. I know the clerk of court is here. Stand up, Ms. Dewberry. Sheriff Mann is here. Commissioner Johnson is here. Representative Billy Mitchell is here. Former Representative D. Hagler is here. Judge Story is here. Judge, stand up, stand up. Did I miss anybody on that side? Congressman Hank Johnson was here. Judge Boulay is here. Stand up, Judge. Give Judge a hand. Former Congressman John Barrow, stand up. He's here. Give him a hand. Did I get all elected officials or aspiring elected officials? Anybody trying to be an elected official? But thank y'all so much. This was special. We need a government that looks like and acts like and respects the people who live and work and play in DeKalb County, Georgia. This is a beginning of a conversation. It's not the end of the conversation. Together, we what? Win. That's the message that Victoria and Samia and all shared with us today. Together, we win. Now we got a special song. And, you know, I asked the choir last year if I could join. I sent my application. Hadn't heard anything back. And but I asked Ms. Carlos, I want the names and social security numbers. And so we have one. I want you all to join us. So choir, what are we singing? We are the world. So I want everybody to join in and sing with us today.
Now unto him who's able to do exceedingly above all that we ask or think according to the power that works within us. Unto him be glory in the church in Christ Jesus unto all generations forever and ever. And everyone say amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. And amen.
It's gonna get better, y'all. what we say. People come, go. Your life has been out of control. You're confused, but don't worry. It will get better. It's gotta get better. It will get better. It's gonna be. It will get better. 'Cause God is in control. Find the praise, y'all. Within your heart. Hold it close. Don't ever depart. Think it's all in the night, but you'll be alright. It will get better. And it's